All right.
Now, I'm not going to ask you how many bikes you've owned and what they are because we'll be here till like midnight.
Yeah, a
So
lot.
let's kind of go with what you own right now and why you love those bikes.
Is it okay to only love one of them?
No, I said love those bikes.
Yeah. My main bike is my 390 Adventure, and I love it because anything I ask of it, it doesn't do anything well, but it'll do everything. I've done 12-hour days on the highway. I've done 12-hour days on the dirt, never touching pavement. It just works. Requires a little extra maintenance, but it's perfect. My only other bike right now, and I usually own 3, but I sold one recently. My other bike is my 790 Adventure, which is a lemon. It's just the bane of my existence. And I bought it because I wanted to try out at the time the best adventure motorcycle, the one that would do the very best off-road. And it is amazing off-road. I can ride that 790 Adventure on harder terrain than I would take a dual sport on because the computer modulates the traction control and the acceleration so well. It's amazing. If it was a reliable bike, I would love it more than anything. But unfortunately, it's a KTM, meaning it's not a reliable bike.
Okay.
But I do need another bike.
What are you thinking of?
Right now, I'm looking at either an inexpensive Goldwing or an inexpensive BMW R1200 RT. And the reason for that is I do want to buy a bike to ride with Hollis because right now I would either have to ride my 390 that I trust, but 390 cc's across the country is not ideal because it's lightweight. When you get to the flyover states, that bike gets pushed around like crazy. While I have ridden my 790 out to South Dakota, I had problems with it when it was out there. And it rode back okay, but then immediately had problems afterwards. So I'm kind of like, I can ride the 790 out there. It's a great bike for distance. It's remarkably good on the highway. It's got plenty of power. But I don't want to break down and leave Hollis on her own.
Well, that kind of leads me into one of the things I wanted to ask is, when did you start seriously riding motorcycles? You know, not just around the neighborhood or something like that. Just when did you finally start say, hey, you know what? I want motorcycling to be my hobby.
Oh, my hobby. Oh, that would be as an adult then.
Okay.
So I rode when I was a kid from 10 to 15, but then I got a car. So didn't need a motorcycle.
Right.
And then I rode for a little while and then I didn't for 30 plus years. And I waited for my daughter. I was going to wait until my daughter was out of high school. You know, I mean, I believe they're death machines. I really do. I honestly believe motorcycles are a life-altering or ending experience. You come really close. So when I had small children, I wasn't going to do that. Right. As I got older, I'm like, I think I want to get another motorcycle. So I hadn't had a motorcycle license since I was 19 years old. So I just bought a motorcycle, insured it, didn't bother to get a license, and started riding. And then I found that I was riding every single day. I would get home from work. Jeanette would still be working. So I would get on the motorcycle and go ride the motorcycle. Yep. And I've been doing it almost every day since for the past 7 years because I love it. I don't do anything else that is as enjoyable by myself. If I get home after work, I can't think of anything I would rather do if Jeanette's working than ride the motorcycle. So that's what I do. I've got my loops, come home and I ride.
When did you start actually traveling?
That was my wife's laziness. So we used
Happy birthday to her.
Yeah, happy birthday to her. It is though. We used to hike. We would drive to a mountain and we would hike that mountain. I mean, we flew out to Colorado and hiked Pikes Peak. You know, we loved to hike. And I'd say she somewhat liked to camp a little bit. And we had a plan to go to Acadia National Park in Maine. And she decided, after I'd already booked the place, that I don't think I want to go. I don't want to go. And I was looking at it and going, I could just take the bike. We were going to go in the camper. We're going to have a nice time at the park together. And when she didn't want to go, I had two choices. I could either not go, or I could just go try something I'd never tried before, which was ride my motorcycle 10 and a half hours to the park and put up a tent.
Yeah.
And I'll get you a link to that video. Objectively, it was a horrible, horrible trip. I lost a bolt off the bike. My chain kept loosening, mechanical problems. I got poured on, heavy winds. When I left home, it was 75 degrees. When I got there, it was 29 degrees. Objectively, it was a horrendous trip, but I was so excited when I got back. Because I'd never moto camped before. I'd never ridden a motorcycle more than 2.5 hours, maybe.
Wow.
And when I got back, I was just enamored with the thought of just getting on my motorcycle and go someplace.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing it ever since.
You said that you did a lot of hiking, so I'm assuming you had a tent and you had all the stuff that packs up small and light, even on that very first trip. Okay. That makes a big difference.
Yeah, and that was part of it too. It's like I didn't need to buy anything. I would later to buy things that were a little more motorcycle friendly. Like we would camp on mountaintops, so I had very big, heavy sleeping bags so we didn't die.
Right.
So, then I would go and get the more motorcycle friendly ones. But for the first trip, it was just like, I'll make it fit and just cram it on there and tie it down, and it worked just fine.
Nice.
And honestly, there's a whole industry of moto camping, but man, you can just go to Walmart, just $75 at Walmart. If you've got the motorcycle already, go moto camp. Stuff's cheap.
So you actually haven't been doing the traveling all that long, but yet you've really made it happen. You've gone other than the Southwest, you've gone all over the country.
Honestly, I am of the belief that as far as I know, you only live once. So if I can responsibly go somewhere, I go.
Mm-hmm.
It's like at one point, someone in Tim's Discord made a joke, just fly out here, buy a bike here. So I did.
I know. I remember that. I
it's
followed
like
that video.
I mean, if you want to do something and you have the means, I'm not saying credit card debt your way to it, but if you have the time and the money to get on your Goldwing in North Carolina and go to South Dakota, and you decide that that's something you want to try, man, you're here, you have what you need to do it, you should try it.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just, there's always something I want to try. So when I can, I do.